I move we approve minutes of June 15th.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, Bill. That one. And there's probably no auditors or treasurer's report today. I will take the bills to the end if that's all right with y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take the bills to the end. Which brings us to item 7A. Mr. Gary Worley, Commissioner Precinct 1, consideration and possible approval of action to install a private line on County Road 201 by Brooksmith SUD.
We have an application by Brooksmith SUD to install a water line going across County Road 201. It will involve a bore since this is a paved road, and it will be done by county specifications. I move we approve the water line on County Road 201 by Brooksmith SUD.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Joey Ronaldo has to sign that.
All right. There you go, Larry, if you would hand that back to Sharon, please. Another one. All right, let's go to item B, which is going to be consideration and possible action regarding the burn ban.
I'm in favor of it staying in place.
I know we've been responding, I mean, I follow the pages, I don't say we, but May's been responding to a lot of local fires and helping other people, so it's still pretty easy to catch fire right now. So we'll take no action on item B. The burn ban will remain on. Item C is Mr. Wayne Shaw, Commissioner Precinct 3, consideration of possible approval of action to install a private line on County Road 291 by the Zephyr Water Supply.
Zephyr Water Supply install a water line on County Road 291, address 6809. And it will be a bore since it's a paved road, and it'll be done up to county specs like they always do. I make a motion to approve this water line installation.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Item passes. Item D is Lisa Dick, Administrator, Brown County Health Department, update on COVID-19 response and county health initiatives. Good morning.
Good morning.
We changed you up a little bit.
Yeah, we did. I just wanted to start by just assuring y'all that all of the things that the local health department normally does are still available. We still have our services for WIC. And then we also are continuing to provide immunizations and treatment for TB. Those are the main things that we do. Treatment for rabies. We just ask that people make an appointment, and then we make sure that they have masks and are screened before they come in. So I think that that's important for y'all to know and for our community to know, is that we've kept those operations going through all of this. So COVID update, we currently have, as of Friday, we had 815 tests completed with 62 positives. So at that time, we had 48 recovered, and that made it where we had 4 active cases. So this weekend, we did have an additional positive, and so that brought us to where we have 5 active cases. 2 of those cases are hospitalized currently. And what makes our situation a little bit different than it has been before is that one of our positives from last week was more of a community-acquired case, which means that we couldn't trace it back to travel or to an individual or something that was outside of our community. Just somewhere they came across it and we can't track it back, so community acquired. And then this one that we had the weekend is looking the same way. Contact tracing is underway on that one, and so there's not a known origin for that. So they haven't traveled outside the community. And so that is a little bit more concerning to me, is that those were caught here in Brown County. So
Recommendations stay the same, social distance. wash your hands, I guess.
Yes. Mask if you can't social distance, more than 6 feet apart. Those are, maybe if you are at high risk, make sure that you stay home as much as possible.
Anything else? Any questions for Lisa?
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to be on again for 1 week or 2 weeks? Or?
Right now, let's do 2. and see how things go.
I'm assuming we're going to continue, we're going to meet next week and the next week. I'm assuming that when I say that, so. Anyway, 2 weeks from now, we'll figure it out. Thank you, ma'am. I understand we're going to pass on item E. They're not ready at this time. I guess they'll just schedule that one. Item F is Buddy Preston, City of Brownwood Fire Marshal. Consideration and possible approval of a resolution to allow the City of Brownwood to file its hazard mitigation plan as an extension of the Brown County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, buddy.
How are you, sir?
I have 2 copies of that. You needed yours back. Where you at?
I was here last week and explained what parameters were, and I can do it again for the record if I need to. Long and short of it is that hazard mitigation plan for the city of Brownwood is tied into Mills County, and we would like to bring it back into Brown County through the West Central Texas Council of Governments. It is a FEMA and PDM, Texas Department of Emergency Management mandate that it be in place and updated every 5 years for post and pre-incident disaster funding and mitigation.
My only question, buddy, excuse me, is the template for this resolution, did you get it from the city's perspective, or is it from the county's perspective? Because the resolution by the Commissioners Court doesn't really mean anything other than the paper it's written on. There's Judge West, is it a court order that the Commissioners Court puts out that really means something instead of a resolution? Do you remember?
No, it's supposed to be a resolution.
Okay.
The information that I have, that the template that we have come from H2O Partners, who is the one that does the mitigation plans for West Central Texas Council of Governments. And I have an email.
I know cities and counties
I understand.
are 2 different birds.
I understand that too. But if that's the first step is, and
Okay.
the plan to have the resolution by the county that's saying that you will accept us back into your plan through West Central Texas.
I'm fine with that.
So, let me be read out loud. I'm having a little trouble speaking this morning already, so somebody else may want to do the reading.
I'll have to clear my throat a little bit,
I'm having
unless
problems.
Buddy wants to read it.
It's strictly up to y'all.
Okay, I'll read it. Resolution for Brown County, approval of adding the city of Brownwood to the FEMA-approved West Central Texas Council of Governments Planning Area 6 Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. Whereas natural hazards in the West Central Texas region, Texas historically caused disasters with losses of life, property, and natural resource damage. And whereas the Federal Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 and Federal Emergency Management Agency require communities to adopt a hazard mitigation action plan to be eligible for the full range of pre-disaster and post-disaster federal funding for mitigation purposes. And whereas FEMA requires the communities update the hazard mitigation action plan every 5 years in order to be eligible for the full range of pre-disaster and post-disaster federal funding for mitigation purposes. And whereas Brown County, through the hazard mitigation planning process, has assessed the community's potential risks and hazards and is committed to planning for a sustainable community and reducing the long-term consequences of natural and man-caused hazards. And whereas the West Central Texas Council of Governments Hazard Mitigation Plan outlines a mitigation vision, goals, and objectives, assesses risk from a range of hazards, and identifies risk reduction strategies and actions for hazards that threaten the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brown County Commissioners affirm Brown County's commitment to West Central Texas Council of Governments Planning Area 6 Hazard Mitigation Plan update by allowing the City of Brownwood the option of being added to the existing FEMA-approved West Central Texas Council of Governments Planning Area 6 Hazard Mitigation Plan update. I move we approve this resolution for the adding City of Brownwood to the Brown County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
A motion and a second, does that look good to you, Shane? Okay. All in favor then? There you go. That's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Y'all want this copy to sign?
That's an official copy out there. So sign yet.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You need two of them, buddy? Or you just need a copy after
Sharon, you need to.
when Sharon files it?
One for me.
And then I'll take one. Thank you all.
We'll sign it, everybody. Please.
She'll copy this one, she'll stamp.
James Masters, there he is. James Masters, Brown County Veteran Service Officer. Consideration and possible approval to transfer $1,200 from the travel budget to purchase 2 software packages for veterans claims processing software.
Before we start that, can I start with the good news?
Sure.
Each of you have got the little packet up there. This is the 2019 data that comes out of the Veterans Administration we get. And it gives us a breakdown of the number of veterans we have in our county by category. Now, when the census comes out, that will be actually updated where it'll be even more precise than what this one is here. So they generally go off the compensation and health enrollment rolls of the county. As you can see, we're down from a high of 3184 2 years ago down to 2962. And that's predominantly within the World War II era, which is expected. Going to the direct economic impact of the Veteran Service Office itself. We, in total, compensation, pension, non-service connected programs, insurance, burial benefits, we recover $16,195 a year in this county. Now, what does that really mean when it comes to the business side of the house is what is the Brown County Veteran Service Office payroll monthly in this county in compensation and pension? It is $800,000 a month, rounded number. That's not bad for a 2-person job. We continue our services. This is outside of what we collect on the compensation and pension side of the house. We do concurrent receipt for our guard retirements. We have a lot of those folks in the area. Our survivor benefits, counseling and applications, that is the federal program, special SPP survivor benefit program. That's recouped out of Cleveland. Under education expenses, to Brown County Education, that's Howard Payne, TSTC, Ranger College, we're at $1,286,000 in payments to them, or those students that attend those universities under federal programs. The Veterans Administration Clinic really kind of stayed the same. They did not get their payroll back to us, so I cannot give you a good report on what they actually made, but they have gone to full staffing out there now. So now they have 2 PAs and 3 docs. And that's a largest amount they have had in quite some time. And for that, they serviced 2,544 veterans. That is an accurate number. That's on their enrollment roll. And really 1,540 live outside the county, so those folks travel in to spend money in Brown County for a year. Not so much recently, I will tell you that, because they shut services off under COVID. And that really kind of burned me.
Are they open back?
They are open back, but they're limited to a 25% patient load. Normally, each doctor is supposed to carry around 1,000 annually on a patient load. So they're really restricted on what they can do. And that's a federal
I
mandate.
figured that's an order that's
It's not
coming from
ours.
above. That's not their choice, I
It's
guess.
not, because all those folks out there are generally on people. I did complete the national accreditation program for Sergeant Major Sinclair, the person the council brought on to take Mr. Fraser's place. He is now accredited nationally with the Veterans Foreign Wars and the Texas Veterans Commission. That's one of the fastest accreditations I've lived through since I've been working there. I mean, it was less than 4 month period, and it was there. So he completed all those training requirements up front. That was a very good deal there. And he's also now fully able to go into the electronic claims database. And then we still hope to next year attend 2 to 3 formal in-person training classes. We are very fortunate this fiscal year because we are able to get trained in November, December, and get our accreditation requirement out ahead of time before they shut everything down. So at some point in time, we hope that they will go back to processing an actual training where you get together with the rest of our counterparts throughout the state. Because you sure do get a lot of good tactical intel when you're processing claims on that. So, now,
So that would be, that was our annual report.
that's your
That
annual.
was actually item H. So we've
Yes.
taken care of item H, so we'll go back to item G, which is the $1,200 from the travel budget to the software.
And that 16 million, by the way, this is 2019 data, so that 16 million is up to 1.8 million over the year prior to, which was the last data. VA is generally about 1,800 or 18 months behind on data. Now, the sad news, we got word last week, is that they are going to do away with accepting fax electronic. We have a fax system that we send to the federal claims system that gives us a return receipt. Federal VA is doing away with that. And they're saying, you're either gonna mail it in to us, or you're gonna do the central mail. We have central mail, which we can do, which basically puts, I had to purchase a scanner for Sergeant Major Sinclair's computer, but we can do it that way. The more efficient way is a software package called VetraState. That's what the rest of the state is turning to be able to process claims. What that is an electronic filing system. It puts it directly into the federal database on claims. Those software packages are $453 a computer. I have that within this budget without touching anything or asking for any additional money this year, simply because I haven't spent any travel money. I mean, we haven't been able to go anywhere since December, so I have that, would like the approval to get those 2 packages for each one of the computers. That's no more than $1,200. That would be the software package and the electronic signature pads are required for that.
This is like a one-time one. Because
It'd be a one-
We don't think next year, we hope we're not in the same position.
I hope not, but next year though, this is 453 is the license package, and that's an annual fee, so that's really gonna become about a $900 expenditure. I'll come back during the budgetary cycle to talk to you on that. For this year, it would be no cost, but another year, I may have to come and ask you, so we need to look at this.
Is it, would
The
it
worst thing
offer
that ever
having,
happens is somebody comes and asks for $900, I think y'all would be fortunate.
Well, if that was,
do you have any
Yeah,
qualms
I've
about
seen worse.
using that travel money to pay for the software?
that was my next question, but yes, okay. Well, with all that being said, I would entertain a motion.
Well, I move we approve the software packages to be paid for out of Mr. Masters' travel fund.
Have a second?
Second.
Any other questions on this? All in favor? Passes unanimous. All right, James Masters, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the reports, the good news. Which brings us to item I, which is J McInnes, Dominion Point Incorporated and Ray West, consideration and possible approval of Dominion Point 4 plat, which amends the Dominion Point 3 plat approved 8/19/2019. Now, Don King, have you looked at this since we talked this morning?
Come up
Why not?
here, right?
Good morning, gentlemen, friends. Former friends.
Somebody saying you couldn't get their hand in, I don't know what you're about that.
Reading my laws.
When we hang around.
That's what Joe. Don,
I need to come out, Ray, might need me to come over there.
well, I've got 3 paper copies. Excuse me, 2 paper copies for y'all to share.
Well,
This ain't.
my question is, I know we're modifying, and when I talked to Don, he had not yet looked at it since he changed.
Well, the only change is that we turn one line into 2. What's that? Oh, yeah. Jay?
Yes.
Don, they double checked the 1425. They corrected the Pulaski mistake on one of the points.
Okay.
And they
This is right here.
And they turned, this was 1 lot.
This was 2 lots here, we turned it into 1
Excuse
lot.
me, 2 lots, and they turned it into 1. And I think that might have something to do with this, but everything else is the same.
So 2 lots, 1.
Verified all points.
Well, as you and I talked, and for the purpose of court, I haven't seen this revision. But as you and I talked, that common corner ought to be up here. That's a record title of the southeast corner of the Perez. That you wanted to make sure that all the record title.
No, we had tied that down.
Yeah, all your record title goes to the Perez, he's showing it over here, which, that's was one of the changes that need to be done.
Well, we didn't mention that the last time we were out there because that was the same thing
Yeah.
that we talked about.
Yeah, we can talk about.
Well,
No.
long story
I
short,
haven't reviewed this plan.
this is just, we're calling it 4. But it is tied into number 3. All the dimensions are shown on the plat. There won't be, I mean, it's got potable water, electricity, and access. As a matter of fact, there is, the Brooksmith water required another source here. So now the water system, don't know what a looped water system is. Instead of being linear, it's not a loop system, which will have the effect of increasing water pressure for all the people out there, everyone that's on that line. You're gonna see the same lines on this plat as on the plats that have been approved before. The same reference points, et cetera. So, with that, we would ask that, and the restricted covenants that will apply to these 3 lots will be identical to the restricted covenants that are in the Dominion Point report.
So if we make the lots bigger, that won't affect the septic, on-site septic.
That's
So that's
it's better for it.
better for it, but now Don had that one concern about the point.
Well, And this point here is the same, the plat that was approved for Dominion Point 3 shows the same thing.
Well, my question to Don is, do we need to get that fixed before we approve it again? I mean, just asking your opinion, because you're the
Well, I haven't reviewed this plat. I requested it. The last communication I had was with Attorney West. And at that point, he said for revisions, he was gonna get those done. And that's the last communication, and that was somewhere,
It's been a long time ago.
You need to review these then before we act.
I'm sorry, I'm getting.
Do you need to review this before we act on it? You need to have time to review these?
Well, I've reviewed the plat. And then it's been a work in progress. And Attorney West and I talked, and I've talked to Joe. And I placed my concerns, and Attorney West made his request. And that's the last word I heard. I haven't been able to review this.
This is, keep in mind, this is a reference point.
Yeah, which we pointed out, I actually went on the ground to point that corner out, and the crew chief that was doing this, Mr. Buffy, pointed out, I pointed it out to him. We were within 200 feet of it. He said, yes, he was going to that corner. But that corner is actually on this road. Right?
Okay.
Mr. King, I thought you and I talked about this when we were out there, and you told me that the survey was okay if we go ahead and make these changes.
Well,
We've done the changes that you requested.
with the exception of Mr. West, the record title for everything that you got to the north and to the west hangs its hat on the southeast corner of the Perez, which is this survey here. And Mr. Shockley, I called him and then I showed Buffy while we were on the ground. You know, he came out of the field through the gate. And I asked him, I said, you know, the Perez is that fence corner post? He said, yes, I tagged it. And he said he'd make those changes. And he's definitely showing it to be inside this
There's
track.
that monument that we set up there, and that's the same monument that we used in approved
Well,
section 3.
it might be his monument, Jay, but the record title for all your title work and Hutchins and all those McInnes Point subdivisions go back and tied to the southeast corner of the Perez. And that's just fine details. I haven't been able to review this plat.
Let me just add this. This just cut to the chase. The whole point of a plat is, can you find it on the map? And because of all the other reference points, the fact that there have been 3 Dominion Point subdivisions approved, this one ties into the north line of Dominion Point 3. They're located along the ground. That's the whole point. Now, without regard to a reference point being in a different place than the southwest corner of the Perez, that may affect Mr. McInnes's other land. It shouldn't affect this because, as I said, you already have all these lots platted. Surveys have been approved, and these simply are, and rather than doing an amendment, we decided to do a separate subdivision. And it clearly ties into the previously approved plat, which tied into another previously approved plat, etc. So I would urge the court to approve the plat as it is, and, with the restrictions as I stated.
Well, it does not yet have the signature of the county surveyor on it.
Well, I mean,
So,
as I understand, the
I guess
procedure
we need-
now is that the court approves and then the signatures are affixed. For example, Rita's signature doesn't go until it's after it's been approved. The owner's signature doesn't go until after it's approved, as well as the,
Well, we traditionally always use the word until so-and-so is signed off on it, whether it's physically signed off on this thing or not. So
well.
I'm just saying, to cover ourselves there.
Unless the rules have been changed, the county surveyor is an advisory capacity. And he is, as he pointed out, this is a detail. it should not affect being able to locate these three lots on the ground. And it's identical to the previous surveys or the previous plats that have been approved. You move it over here, not arguing with Don that it's the correct place is over here, but if you move it, then, you know, does that confuse the issue? I mean, to me, it's a non-issue. To me, it's just, it's a detail, as Don said, the southwest corner of the Perez survey is on the, what, west side of the road, right?
Southeast corner, yeah. Which is the record title. I have never,
Southeast corner of the Perez is on the west side of the road.
this is a nice piece of property and it's a good tax base for the county. And it needs to be done, it needs to be done right, so because the particular surveyor is not gonna be, he's 94 years old. So he's not gonna be around 10 years from now. And the next surveyor coming in, and that's the reason we have our regulations, so the next surveyor can come in and identify and restate, recircle. Now, we verified and validated our plating regulations April of 19. And like I say, I haven't reviewed this plat, but the main thing I had going with it was electronic files, which that's for the appraisal district. So he can bring it into GIS. And I talked to the surveyor, Shockley, and the crew chief, Mr. Buffy. And they both said that no surveyor can help them with electronic files. Now, I haven't seen those.
We have the thumb drives, I mean, we've got all of the required,
And that may be,
items to give to the appraisal districts, to the county and to the
well,
survey.
I haven't seen them. I'd like to see them to make sure everything's up to snuff, but, and it isn't, it's
He's
in our
got them,
regulations.
he's got them with him.
Well, is this something that can be done in a little while, or we need to reschedule this thing?
I urge you to
I'm
approve the
asking
plat
Don.
now.
Well, I'm asking Don, no, but Don's got to, get his approval sometime, when he needs to.
Well, in April, we make provisions where it takes 2 or 3 or whatever, how many reviews it takes. But I'm sure everything's fine, but I haven't seen this revision.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes, please.
Could you, could you, when you started talking, we didn't have this over here. What's the changes between 3 and 4?
There are no changes between 3 and 4, other than that there are
Read this
lots
a lot.
8, 9, and 10 will be number 4.
Wait. Say that again?
8, 9, and 10 will be,
All
Dominion Point 4. That's what I'm asking you to approve.
Okay.
All of the reference points in the previous plats are identical to the reference points here.
Now, what I'm asking, okay, I see 8, 9, and 10. On 3, what, was there an 8, 9, and 10?
Well,
Now,
Oh, that was all, that's what you're doing,
The
you're
vote-
creating 8, 9, and 10.
Yes.
in the last review of it, the waterfront, the boundary didn't not get to the waterfront. And then on the north point, it actually took in part of the water board property, along with an encroachment to the north line.
Can I say
that
something?
has been double checked, and to the end that
What's
it's corrected, it's corrected.
And I appreciate you double checking it, but I had it checked.
So, I mean, you don't have number 3, do you? The third, isn't that right? What we talked, this
Plat
is the 4th.
Dominion Point 3.
It's right there.
Well,
It's just added on.
It's part of it. It's Dominion
No,
Point
but I
3
mean, I'm talking
begins
about
with
the
7 and goes
You
down.
don't have a copy of the actual 3?
No, it's in the clerk's.
Yeah, okay. But all of the reference points, I mean, if we looked at 3, it would be identical to this with the exception of 8, 9, and 10.
That's correct.
And that's already approved. I mean, you've already approved all those references.
And I have no problem with 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with not reviewing
But
the last.
I think that, and I think you've got a legitimate concern about that, the reference to the southwest corner of the press survey. But if that has previously been approved in other plats, so what this court's doing is they don't have any concern for anything on this piece of paper except 8, 9, and 10.
Well, you're hanging your hat on the problem that Perez, which I have no problem with. You know, surveys are an opinion. You get one surveyor over here, you got an opinion, you got another surveyor, you got another opinion. And as I said, all I'm doing is, as your county surveyor, has got reapproved in April last year, is to look at these plats and make sure the next surveyor, the surveyors in Hamilton County,
No, but say.
they're not gonna be able to come in.
Let's say this, say they do not approve number 4, and the best we've got is number 3. It's already approved, and we've already got the exact same problem.
Yeah, number 3 down to the south, that's correct.
Yeah.
But these last 3 lots or 4 lots, whatever, needs to be verified. So that way, so the next surveyor,
And
if they come in and stake the case.
And really, the purpose of a plat is for somebody to know what they're buying.
Sure. That's
And
the whole
to
purpose.
establish property lines between lots 7 and 8, 8 and 9, and 9 and 10.
That's right.
And what is in a road and what's not.
Yeah, and so I don't think that, and I think that you have a legitimate concern, but I don't think that that affects a future purchaser of these 3 lots.
Well, I haven't seen it, James, so I don't know. I'd like to
And
review
also,
it.
I couldn't, it really couldn't.
I'd like to review it, and then I can resubmit it next week.
And I didn't, and I really wasn't, I couldn't hear what you were saying about what the problem is up here.
The north line, it was falling in the lake. Like, which they take the water board property.
That has been correct.
And then the boundary line between it and Mr. Hutchins was a problem.
Previously approved survey. It's not
I don't know if it's still a problem or not.
What was the problem between
It was
it and the
overlapping.
Hutchins property? It was overlapping Hutchins property.
No, the issue was that this is a previous survey that we had performed for another situation. And those points were incorrect, and we had to correct them.
And they said it was a mistake, so
So what is,
this is the correction to the mistake, so I like to at least have a chance to say, this correction is good.
so what is the boundary between you and the Hutchins? Is there a fence there?
No, there's a survey line.
There's a survey line?
Yes.
It's just a line.
I sold Mr. Hutchins a property. So this has all been my property. So we've gone back and re-verified the Hutchins line. They're happy with it, and it caused a reduction in my property here on lot 10 because of the missed survey points from a survey that I previously authorized for another situation.
And again, this is a good,
That's how you're paying surveyors, aren't you?
I am, and we've sold out Dominion 3. And I have a contract on lot 8 in section 4. And it's supposed to close in 2 weeks. I've been messing with this since the first of the year. And we're still not done. I met Mr. Kenny out in the field, and my understanding, we had satisfied everything he's done. Only thing different on this is we consolidated number 11 into number 10 and made it a larger lot.
It's always been traditional, though. They still had time for the county surveyor to review a plat before we approved it.
Well, he saw the
And it's up to
preliminary
this
plat
board.
and gave them instructions. They complied with the instructions.
and it's up to the court. It's fine with me. But again, this is a prime piece of property on Lake Pratt. It's a good tax base. There have been modifications done from the last revision I've seen. I'd just like to verify those modifications. And I'll resubmit it myself next week if I can have an opportunity to review it. And if y'all don't want me to review it, that's fine. I have no idea about the changes.
We have sales of, one lot in 4, Jay?
Yes, and we finished sales in 3.
And, we need to get it approved.
We've added 6 lots to the tax rates in the last 30 days.
So, once again, my request is that the plat be approved. And consistent with, 2 and 3, with the restrictions to be identical to the new point 3.
Well, you're asking for this because there's a rush, I guess. But then again, we still don't have the county surveyor's signature, we won't have till he reviews it, so it's not, is it valid until he reviews it? Because he's got a place for his signature on that.
Yeah, you're approving it, not him. He's advising you.
Well, he's our advisor, so I hate to, so
But if you approve it, you approve it.
we've done this before, right or wrong, in the past, subject to approval by so-and-so and so-and-so. We've done that before too in some cases.
Well, how long is it gonna take you to review it?
I can put it on the agenda next week.
No, I mean, if they approve it subject to your review, can you review it this afternoon?
What's that?
Could you get it done this afternoon?
What, check it? Yes. Well,
Well, he,
it'll be after
he's
3
got the
o'clock.
preliminary.
I've got to be in Abilene at 2, so it'll be after 4 o'clock. So first thing in the morning, I can review it tonight.
Can we?
I would make a motion, we approve this plat subject to the review of the county surveyor.
That'd be all right.
Yeah.
Charles called.
I mean, that's a motion, if it can fail for whatever lack of a second, my motion be approval, subject to the Don King's approval, his review and approval.
Second.
Who did that?
Larry.
And exactly what was approved?
Plat, a forward revision for
We're approving platform.
I would like to interject something before y'all vote on this. You can approve the plat, and if Mr. King reviews it and finds a material error in it, he can amend it.
Well, that's basically
But I
what it
need
is.
to have it filed, and it will not be filed if it's subject to anything.
Well, it could be filed within a day or so if he finds a problem, right?
Well, I'm the filing agent. And in our rules, if you want me to give you a copy of it,
No, I'm just saying so we can get this in a timely manner.
says that I've got to review the plat. And after the review of the plat, I advise the court that it's good or bad. And then y'all,
Well,
Yeah,
in this instance, you're gonna be checking to see if the changes that you asked for were made. We know of one of them that wasn't, which again is a reference point and not the meets and bounds of the, 3 lots that we're asking approval of, which are clearly tied down by reference to a previously approved plat.
and
That's the
again,
reason I'm asking to have an approval, unequivocal approval, but that if Don finds something that affects these 3 lots, their location, et cetera, that we will amend.
And we don't have to put it.
Withdraw your motion.
Was that what I want to do?
Nobody's seconding, nobody's
Well, you do what you
seconding, so
want.
that's-
Yeah.
And if it wasn't
You gonna
for the
withdraw your second
previous
first?
surveys that you-
Okay.
I'm withdrawing my second.
He didn't second it, he did.
No.
Show it.
So you gotta read.
and again, let me point out that the misreference of the southeast corner of Perez, that doesn't bother me. That's when I said, everybody has an opinion. And the liability of the mistake is on the surveyor. And it also will be, somewhere down the line, the title examiners will find that.
And you're not saying that lots 8, 9, and 10 are not accurate.
I have no idea.
Didn't look at
I haven't looked at it.
I thought, didn't you get a preliminary?
Not on that one, I haven't.
it. See, he's not
The only
saying.
thing changed on this, Don, is I consolidated. You had to review this at least twice. the only thing, not this specific, but all the data, we made all the changes that you asked us
I'm
to
good
do
with it.
on the previous
And I have no doubt about that, Judge. I have no doubt that you haven't changed it, but I haven't seen the changes.
You do have a
I don't know,
preliminary
this
comparison.
is wrong.
Sure, yeah,
Because he doesn't have approval.
sure.
He just,
I just haven't been able to review this plan.
He does have a preliminary plat with the changes you requested. All he's got to do is verify that they were.
As far as I'm concerned. So they're not.
I'll leave the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the plans presented by West and Kid.
I haven't presented my motion yet, so I was gonna one more time. Are you advising me to present my motion?
Well, that's not,
Is it seconded?
that's,
It was motion and second.
Yeah.
man, I'm
Sean
telling you,
seconded
you do
it.
what you think is best. I mean, that's not a legal opinion, that's a, I'm telling you that it's certainly, it certainly would be okay if it was approved today.
Dominion Point
Because
Four plat.
So in the future, people come up and say, we want us to approve a plat that nobody, he hadn't looked at yet. I mean, we're gonna end up just like a can of worms too, you know that.
Well, that's not exactly correct.
Yes and no. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
And just for a side note, I sent an email to Mr. McInnes on June 5th, asking where we were on this. And I did not get a response. I mean,
I mean,
it'd
like,
been nice if they'd
The
sent me
thing,
this for
what I see
review.
about it, excuse me, what I see is the county surveyor does not have approval. He can't approve a plat. Commissioner's Court approves a plat. Surveyor has duty to the county to review the plat and make sure that everything is in that plat is up to date, up to the specifications of the state of Texas. We can approve a plat not subject to the county surveyor's approval, but subject to the county surveyor finding any fault with the plat. And if he finds no fault, he fixes his signature. And if he does find fault, then Mr. McInnes addresses that issue and amends the plat. Shane, is that something, does that kind of boil it all down?
Kind of, yeah.
Amends or corrects. Correction documents are filed every day.
Right. So,
So it sounds
Mr.
like
Kelton?
you're saying the same thing, you're saying a different way, subject to finding it, so the county surveyor
Yes.
finding fault.
but
No,
not,
but if the
not
resolution.
subject to his finding. I don't want to sign or approve a plat subject to the county surveyor's approval, because the county surveyor has no approval authority. The Commissioner's Court has the authority to approve or disapprove a plat. The county surveyor has the, I don't know that it's authority, but it's he makes sure that everything is right with
He expresses his opinion as to
He's an advisor.
the lines.
his advisor.
That's right, because the
Right.
Commissioner's Court doesn't know the technical aspects.
It's true.
So we'll start bypassing the county's attorney. I mean, the
We're
county
not
surveyor.
bypassing.
Okay, I'm just saying in the future, what are you gonna do there? But all right, whatever.
Well,
Commissioner Kelton, this is in no way bypassing the county surveyor. He has looked at a preliminary. He has it. He has made recommendations to the surveyor to correct some points. Those points have been corrected, with the exception of one, which even Don said is not going to affect the plat. So it's different than just ignoring the county surveyor and presenting one to you that hadn't been presented to him. He got a preliminary, he'll get this one and make sure that the recommendations that he made were in fact made. And I can tell you, having looked at both of them, that there were changes made.
Well, I'll just go on, in fact, he said he actually wanted to review and then receive it, so I don't.
He's gonna receive it today.
And it's, and I'm not trying to belabor the point, but I mean, it's not like somebody just walked in off the street with a plat that Don knew nothing about and said, here, approve it. That's not the situation. Don has been very
I
involved
understand.
over the last few
Understand.
months.
I just,
And Don suggested changes and they made the changes. And he just
I
hasn't,
just haven't
Hasn't
reviewed
seen
these,
the
front.
I just haven't reviewed these maps.
right. He just hasn't, they made the changes Don suggested. Don just hasn't looked at the plat since they.
They didn't make all the changes you suggested, but there's one reference point you're talking about.
Well, but that-
That wasn't right.
So there's already one. I don't know.
And you're not approving that. You're not, the issue about the southwest corner, that's not what you're approving. You're approving these lots. And no one's disputing that the lots are not correct. That's just a reference point. That's a starting point for a survey. But if you'll see, there are multiple reference points. See these little black dots? I mean, there are reference points all over this. It's not, the whole survey isn't dependent on
I
one.
see, I just thought we were trying to do what was, correct here.
And we are.
I withdraw my motion, but if that makes everybody happy, if that's okay with it. So what's
You
it?
don't have to vote for, when they approve the plat, you don't have to vote for it.
Well, no, that's fine. I still say, it's always had the county surveyor's signature or his approval. We've always asked for it, we've always had it. Always said subject to, to say in the past, what I recall, that's how we've always done it. Right or wrong, that's how we've done it. So that's
How
not
long
something-
has this been finished? This deal? How come-
May, April,
How come,
April.
how come you
When's
you
the
might
last?
ask her?
We've actually finished all the reef survey and everything about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Did y'all notify him, ask him to review it?
Well, he said that the server had been back on the ground 2 weeks ago. It's been a month, 2 months since I was out there. And so, I have no
He
idea.
made all the changes you recommended, but you don't know that.
That's what we're asking to be verified.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I've
I
reviewed
don't
it.
think his we can't make a motion pending his ratification, but we make a motion that that's the plat as it is. If he does find something, it can be amended, right, Ray?
Yes,
So that's, in other words, we wouldn't be going against.
you want me to make a recommendation?
that's how much.
Give me 1 week to review it.
Well, we're pressed for time is the reason we're here today.
Why are we pressed for time? I just curious. We all-
Because
everybody
there's a
knows
lot
right.
out there sold.
That's not, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be obliging. I feel like trying to do what's right. If it's not our
What
fault,
if he
we're
reviews
down to the last one,
it
who wasn't hurry.
and you go ahead and file it and he reviews it and doesn't sign it, is that still making a valid claim?
It is a plat that an owner can buy. Someone can still buy because it's a recorded plat.
Whether he
But
signs it or not?
you've got in the minutes, our agreement to correct anything that Don says is off from his review of the preliminary plat.
Do I have a motion? Oh, I have a motion.
Somebody's gonna have to word that motion for him.
We haven't made a motion.
I can tell you.
Nobody's made a motion. I withdrew mine. Who's gonna make a motion?
Bruce is last, and we don't have to put pending after he reviews it.
Was that a motion?
I thought I heard Commissioner Shaw move that the plat be approved.
That was before the other motion was withdrawn.
Shall approve the Dominion Four plat.
I withdraw my motion. We're starting over
You
here.
did. And then he made a
Yeah.
motion to approve the Dominion Four point.
Let me ask the county attorney, regardless. If as long as I don't put mine, if it seems like it does not, the changes were not made. Not picking up on Sharon. Seems like the changes were not made, and I'm not saying that didn't happen. But when I file it, if I don't sign it, what does that do? Good. Okay,
If it's approved by the commissioner's court, it's approved.
okay.
But now we're moving forward without his, that's his job, but anyway.
Well, he doesn't approve plats. All he does is he gives you his opinion on whether or not they're appropriate. He can come in here and say, I've reviewed it and it's all wrong, and you can still approve it.
But why would I?
Well, we wouldn't, it's all wrong.
Yeah,
So now we're actually doing that is, so we're
We
actually,
approved it without those changes they made. They made the changes.
I would say in the past, as I recall, we've always waited until it is approved. For some reason, I put what I put in there, agreement, it's subject to approval. So now all of a sudden we're ready to bypass that. I was just asking, I'm asking why we're ready to bypass it today.
It has never been subject to his approval. It's been
So we've
subject to-
traditionally always done it that way. We have, when you were here, and everywhere else, we've always done it that way. I'm just saying, right or wrong, we've done it traditionally in the past. But today we're asking to bypass it. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't really trying to throw a wrench in the works. It's just that for whatever reason, we've always done it in the past that way. And we've done things subject to so-and-so's approval. If they weren't all here, they weren't here, subject to so-and-so's approval. Today, I realize you're here for time, for whatever reason. He's saying he wants to review it. Y'all saying you want to approve it. I don't know what to do.
We're gonna submit this to him for review to make sure that the changes he requested were made. But we would like to have the plat approved so we can go forward with a rather large amount of money at stake.
A sale.
And again, like I said, this is a prime piece of property. It's a good tax base, and this is about the third time I've said this. It's a prime piece of property on the lake. It's a great tax base for the county. And I'm pretty sure everything's up to snuff, so I've been told. But I just have not had a chance to review it. Now, on June 5th, when I sent an email, that'd been a good time to send it back to me for a review. But Jay said you didn't know about the corrections till 2 weeks ago. Now, I know that the surveyor probably was a little slow dragging his feet. I don't know when he signed the plat, but I'm guessing it's probably been within the last week before they had it.
Yes.
But it's been nice if I could have seen it and before we got into all this.
No, I didn't get the email. I don't know if it went to. It may have
Mr.
gone to
Shaw?
again.
What was your
I'm
motion?
not trying to stop you. I'm trying to figure out how to
Approve the plan is presented. And
Okay,
I'm gonna stick with that motion, because I think it's gonna be.
We have a motion from Commissioner Shaw to approve the plat as submitted.
And
Period.
Judge West told me that one day when he was judge, he said, anything this court can do, we can undo. And this might not be the case, but if it turns out, after the county surveyor reviews it, and it's not fixed right, then we can, he said it can be amended. So that's pretty simple to me.
Would you mind adding the verbiage that when the county surveyor does review this plat, if there is anything that needs to be fixed, we'll fix it at that time and amend this plat?
Gee,
That was my
That's
request.
pending approval there.
that's been basically your
Yeah.
second.
Well,
That's it.
No, that's not the same.
No,
Well,
it really
It
is.
is.
It is.
It is your order to Mr. McInnes to correct it if there are,
and in defense with Mr. West and McInnes, if the plat's filed and they have a legal land transaction happen, and then you can't come back and amend it, that changed that deed. So,
that's our risk.
that's right. That's your problem.
That's your risk.
That's your problem.
So that doesn't affect the court.
So we have a motion and or, here we go. So we have a motion, are we gonna amend it or not?
His motion is just to approve it.
Chip,
There's not, that second, the next 10 sentences after that, no, that's not a motion. He made a motion to approve it as prepared. That's it.
That's submitted, I think with his words.
I would ask the motion, I would ask that the motion include instructions to the filer that if there are, errors in it, that they be corrected immediately.
Yeah. Without saying.
Well,
No,
I don't think so.
it has to be said.
Yeah, right, well, that's kind of like the stipulation. But at the following, this discrepancies are found and shall be corrected immediately.
Let me ask you something,
Now you're gonna just flutter it out.
Wes, let me ask you something. I know the other plans show the Perez, but as you and I, we've talked about how, and you wrote a letter, the importance of tying down the Perez, which I've overlooked, because this isn't, like I said, you got two surveyors, you got two opinions. But there's some documents you can file later that could keep your title clear to the north and to the west, saying that particular southeast corner of Perez is mislocated, so that way you don't mess up your title.
And you can file that in the real problem.
Did you second Walter's motion?
See it.
No, he made
I don't even know what the motion
No.
is.
I withdrew mine.
Somebody's new motion.
I finally withdrew mine.
I don't know.
Wayne made a new motion.
Oh, Wayne made a new.
To approve the plan as submitted.
I'll second it.
Did you second it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, I did.
We've already had plenty of discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All not in favor? Just because.
The motion will read to approve the Dominion Point 4 plat as submitted. That was the motion.
3, 4, and 1 object.
In the
That's
motion.
the way I heard it.
And there's, at the time of filing,
No?
Yeah.
discrepancies, what did we add it there?
No.
The motion was to approve the plat as it is submitted. And with instructions to the filer to correct discrepancies that the county surveyor might find.
Was that your second? Did you second
I said
that?
that, yeah.
You second that? Okay, so
So
that,
repeated it, so repeat that.
so we're still good on that.
Yes.
I'm
I would
not
ask
trying to
you,
kill
you should
you.
want to be put in this position.
Yeah, I asked him to repeat your,
I'd ask not to be put
if
in
somebody's
this
got
position. There's
a
no
plat,
reason
needs
for us
to
to be-
review, get a hold of the guy and let him review it.
Sean moved to approve the Dominion 4 plat as submitted with instruction to the filer to correct discrepancies that the filer might find.
Surveyor.
You said filer. Anyway,
County surveyor.
they said filer, but I'll put surveyor. Okay.
Y'all just tell me what you do.
Here's the
Compare
email.
the preliminary to this here.
I'm gonna lay them out for each sign.
The southwest corner of the Perez.
I guess.
I'll get this.
Am I still, now county attorney, am I still bound to sign them, even though I voted
The
against?
southwest, yes.
Yeah.
The southwest corner of the Perez.
Southeast.
How is that, is that a?
Yeah, this is a railroad, actually. 50 years.
I didn't look at these.
All the time, we work to the north and to the west. Hence,
I never done sign, right?
which this surveyor did not.
Where are the other Mylars?
You just have, you need to sign the one, right?
But it is.
Oh, you signed all three.
No, that's what we do now, she's just signing.
No,
it's
you can't just keep where that's at.
The Rock Mountain, that's the original map. In 1870.
So I sign this one, right?
Where is that on
These
this
two,
map?
sign one,
Where
but
is that?
It's not on the map. That's my.
I know. I mean, where is it? Let me, no, I know it's not on the map, but can you just show me where it
It's on the west side of the county road.
Thank you, man.
He's saying it right here.
Well,
It's
that's my
actually
phone.
here.
Here's the press line.
Yeah.
This is my, let's remember, look again. Never sign it. This is that's wrong. Yeah, let's prove that.
Title.
Right, do that.
Past that.
That's,
Oh, here, yeah.
Joel.
It's just a mislocation. So,
don't leave.
Bill,
I know. I got it. It's a record now.
we still got bills.
The next four surveyor gets after it.
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah, I just got.
Now, we just signed the one Mylar and then make copies of the signed Mylar, correct? That's your procedure.
You need to sign all three
All three?
Yeah.
We don't have to make copies? I'm only got two.
No, you're gonna have to make five of all the signatures.
I understand. But of the Mylar,
Let me give, you want me to give you a copy? Here.
You think we was doing this
Last
first
time we
time?
did 3 months.
Oh, it's not on that one. Go on to that. No, you need to sign all my.
I understand, but I don't,
You need to get him to sign it more time.
I did my one signature.
No, you have to do three.
Really needed
What
three.
about two of theirs?
That's what I'm
Three.
saying. We only did get 3 of them.
What else? I think we done this for the
the last
first
time we
today.
wound up signing one of them.
Well,
Then make two
no,
copies.
that don't work. You it takes a minimum of 2 to 5.
Okay.
You need 3 because you need a copy of it.
Well, I'll take our, we've got two, so I'll do it then.
Well, no, you can't. These 2 are on record.
Well, he can, after it's signed, he can take it and make him a copy of the sign.
Well, he has to make copies after the signature.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
right.
You gotta get all the signatures, so, yeah, you need to sign one.
I already sent Ken back with.
Did you already, did you only sign one?
Yeah.
And you need to sign both of mine.
Anybody else have a Sharpie?
Next time, maybe you bring a Sharpie too.
I didn't bring one.
Well, we brought one, but I handed it back to Ken and she stepped out. It was her pen.
I signed
Amy's going to get one.
Okay.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Then you
Her
have
office.
to
I'll
read
wait,
it.
I'll wait for your thoughts.
Then you go get
Yeah, I
rid
know,
and then you go get up, then you make your 5 copies
right.
and reduction copy.
I'll reduce, got it right.
And then bring you the thumb drives.
I've got those three, and I've got the copies of all
And,
the restrictions.
and that's where we're gonna hit bump is electronic files.
And
Because both the surveyor and Buffy said they're gonna get Huddleston to help them with electronic files. And I talked to Huddleston yesterday. He said he hadn't been contacted.
So, in fact, if you're in a hurry, it's not really our fault. I'll say that. And
I ain't never seen one receipt on.
we've never done this before, we never got somebody else signature on it. So I say, right or wrong, there is a little bit.
Well, there it is, you know.
Okay, well, no one.
Well, you'll have to sign for a notary, Jack. You can't do it here.
Okay, all right,
You gotta go find you a notary.
all right,
Then you just have to go up there and read it.
okay.
That was yours?
Okay?
Raise a notary.
Yeah, we asked that to be off, so I'm gonna strike the line and do that.
Okay.
You know, that's no problem. This is the only certificate need to be there. This should have been removed. So that makes me doubt about that.
Can y'all carry that on outside so we can finish our report, please?
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Justin.
Sorry, I know, I'm kind of weird.
Yeah, you are. Hey,
Should have been right for you.
don't leave. I gotta talk to you.
Should have been right for you. All right.
I was gonna say, wait, because I need to ask you your professional advice.
And then tell me to wait. I just didn't want to set a precedent. Yeah. That's good. Y'all be good. I'm out of here. I'll wait out the hall.
All right, thank you.
All right, we have not yet paid the bills. I don't know if everybody's had even had time to review the bills yet or not.
If you pay that one I sent the other day, be nice.
If it's on the list, it'll probably get paid. I don't know if it's on there or not.
See y'all later.
Be careful.
I'll be out in the hall.
I move we approve the accounts payable as presented by the county auditor.
Second.
I was still looking, but we got a motion in a second. Oh, that's all right. I'm almost with you. All in favor? Bills paid unanimous. Do we
Be
need to
sure to
meet
give
next?
them, give them to me.
Okay, we're good. Do we need to meet next week? I guess we have been meeting every week. Because we've been getting recorded a week on the code. We're doing it every other
But
week
she's
now.
not doing it
So we're doing it every other week on that. Do we need to meet next week?
They were-
Do we not need to meet next week for any known reason? So I guess unless somebody has a reason, and we're not gonna schedule one next week unless a reason pops up. From now and next filing. I guess.
Be July 6th.
About 6.
Next week, there's a holiday on Wednesday anyway, and there will be no bills paid next week. So I would say we need to meet on July 6th.
Well, like I said, unless somebody has a reason, they have to call one for some other reason. I don't know.
Between now and Thursday, if there's some reason we need to meet on Monday, we can. Otherwise, we'll meet on July 6th.
I concur. We are adjourned until July 6th.
This is definitely.
Did you turn off that fire?